Hi students, welcome to lesson number 38, Environmental Issues and Sustainable Development. Let's look into the introduction. The environment in which we live plays a vital role in our survival. The environment includes all the natural resources such as air, water, land, forest, minerals, etc. It is our duty to protect the natural resources. However, due to some of the reasons, there is lot of misuse of these natural resources in the form of land degradation, water pollution, air pollution and deforestation. All these factors lead to deterioration of our environment. Environmental degradation is the disintegration or deterioration of the environment to the nature's consumption of assets like air, water and soil. The destruction of environment and eradication of wildlife. Let us look into the objectives. To know the meaning of environmental issues or environmental degradation. 2. To study the causes of environmental degradation. 3. To study the various measures to protect environmental degradation. 4. To examine the policies protecting environment. Let us look into the environmental degradation meaning. Environmental degradation is the process by which our environment, that is air, water and land, is progressively contaminated, overexploited and destroyed. It is characterized as any change or aggravation to nature's stuff seen to be pernicious or undesirable. Environmental degradation is the process by which our environment, that is air, water and land, is progressively seen to be pernicious or undesirable. Environmental degradation is created by the consolidation of an effectively substantial and expanding human populace, constantly expanding monetary development or per capita fortune and the application of asset exhausting and polluting technology. It occurs when Earth's natural resources are depleted and environment is compromised in the form of extinction of species, pollution in air, water and soil and rapid growth in population. When the environment becomes less valuable or damaged, environment degradation is said to occur. In specific, environmental degradation is the deterioration of environment through depletion of resources such as air, water, soil and forest, the destruction of ecosystems and the extinction of wildlife. Environmental degradation is one of the largest threats that are being looked at in the world today. There have been many efforts made in order to reclaim the environment by the people through organizations. The United Nations International Strategy characterizes environmental degradation as the lessening of the limit of the earth to meet social and environmental destinations and needs. Environmental degradation can happen in a number of ways. At the point when environments are wrecked or common assets are exhausted, the environment is considered to be corrupted and harmed. There are number of various techniques that are being used to prevent this environmental resource protection and in general protection efforts. There are instances where people have revoked and adopted non-violence action movements for protecting their environment. Let us look into the factors causing environmental degradation. Environmental issues can be seen by the ecological effects, some of which can demolish whole environments. An environment is a unique unit and incorporates all the living and non-living components that live inside in it. 1. Area specific. Some environmental like species require substantial areas to help provide food, living space and other different assets. These creatures are called area specific. At the point when the bio is divided, the vast patches of living space do not exist anymore. It gets to be more troublesome for the wildlife to get the assets they need in order to survive. The environment goes on even though the animals and plant life are not there to help sustain it properly. 2. Land disturbance. a basic cause of environmental degradation is land damage. Numerous weedy plant species like garlic, mustard are both foreign and obtrusive. A rupture in the environmental surroundings provides for them a chance to start growing and spreading. These plants can assume control over nature, eliminating the local greenery. The result is territory with a solitary predominant plant which does not give satisfactory food assets for the environmental life. Whole environments can be destroyed because of these invasive species. 3. Pollution. Pollution in whatever form, whether it is air, water, land or noise, is harmful for the environment. Air pollution pollutes the air that we breathe, which causes health issues. Water pollution degrades the quality of water that we use for drinking purposes. Land pollution results in degradation of Earth's surface as a result of human activities. Noise pollution can cause irreparable damage to our ears when exposed to continuous large sounds like honking of vehicles on a busy road, machines producing large noise in a factory or a mill. 4. Overpopulation. Rapid growth in population growth puts strain on natural resources, which results in degradation of our environment. Mortality rate has come down due to better medical facilities, which have resulted in increased lifespan. More population simply means more demand for food, clothing and shelter. We need more space to grow food and provide home to millions of people. This results in deforestation, which is another factor of environmental degradation. The population is an important source of development, yet it is a major source of environmental degradation. When it exceeds the threshold limit of the support systems, population impacts on the environment primarily through the use of natural resources and production of waste, and is associated with environmental stresses like loss of biodiversity, air and water pollution, and increased pressure on arable land. In view of the linkages between population and environment, a vigorous drive for population control need be overemphasized. Though population is the resource of any country and a major contributory factor for development, yet it is a major cause of environmental degradation. The rapid pace of population leads to excessive utilization of natural resources, huge production of waste. This results in biodiversity, pollution of air, water and soil, and increased pressure on arable land. All these have been a great stress on the environment. 5. The landfills. Another cause is the landfills, which pollutes the environment and destroy the beauty of the city. Landfills come within the city due to the large amount of waste that gets generated by households, industries, factories and hospitals. Landfills pose a great risk to the health of the environment and the people who live there. Landfills produce foul smell when burned and cause huge environmental degradation. 6. Deforestation. Deforestation is the cutting down of trees to make way for more homes and industries. Rapid growth in population and urban sprawl are two of the major causes of deforestation. Apart from that, use of forest land for agriculture, animal grazing, harvest for fuel, wood and logging is some of the other causes of deforestation. Deforestation contributes to global warming as decreased forest size puts carbon back into the environment. 7. Natural causes. Causes like quakes, avalanches, tidal waves, storms and wildfires can crush nearby animal and plant groups, by which they can no longer survive in those areas. This can either come to fruition through physical demolition as the result of a specific disaster, or by the long-term degradation of assets by the presentation of an obtrusive foreign species to the environment. The latter happens after tidal waves, when reptiles and bugs are washed away ashore. Earth itself causes ecological issues. A biological system degrades to the point where they can't help the life that is supposed to live there. 8. Urbanization. Ecological stresses are leading to an increasing movement of people from rural areas to towns. Cities are emerging and urban slums are expanding. The rapid and unplanned expansion of the cities has resulted in degradation of urban environment. It has widened the gap between demand and supply of infrastructural services such as energy, housing, transport, communication, education, water supply and sewerage and recreational amenities, thus depleting the precious environmental resource of the cities. The result is the growing trend in deterioration of air and water quality, generation of waste and proliferation of the slums and undesirable land use changes. 9. Poverty. Poverty is said to be the both cause and effect of environmental degradation. Inequality fosters unsustainability because of the poor who rely on natural resources more than the rich, deplete natural resources faster as they have no real prospects of gaining access to other types of resources. 10. Economic factors. To some extent, environmental degradation is the result of market failure, that is, non-existence of poorly functioning markets for environmental goods and services. Environmental degradation is a particular case of consumption or production. Externalities reflected by divergence between private and social cost, lack of well-defined property rights may be one of the reasons for such market failure. Market distortions created by rice controls and subsidies may aggravate the achievement of environmental objectives. The level and the pattern of economic development also affect the nature of environmental problems. The manufacturing technology adopted by most of the industries has placed a heavy load in environment, especially through intensive resource and energy use, as is evident in natural resource depletion like fossil fuel, minerals, timber, water, air and land contamination, health hazards and degradation of natural ecosystems. There is high proportion of fossil fuel as the main source of industrial energy and major air polluting industries such as iron and steel fertilizers and cement growing industrial sources contributed in air pollution. The industrial and hazardous waste brought about by expansion of chemical based industry have compounded the waste management problem with serious environmental health implications. The transport activities have wider effects on the environment like air pollution, noise from road traffic and oil spills from marine shipping. Transport infrastructure in India has expanded in terms of network and services. Thus, road transport accounts for a major share of air pollution load in cities. Port and harbour projects impact on sensitive coastal ecosystems and their construction affects hydrology, surface water quality, fisheries, coral reefs and mangroves to varying degrees. Direct impacts of agricultural development on the environment arise from farming activities which contribute to soil erosion, land salination and loss of nutrients. The spread of green revolution has been accompanied by over exploitation of land and water resources, and use of fertilizers and pesticides got increased. The intensive agriculture and irrigation contribute to land degradation such as salination, alkalination and waterlogging. 11. The institutional factors. Rapid industrialization has been the important contributor to environmental degradation. Most of the industries adopt the technologies that place a heavy load on environment. These technologies lead to intensive use of resources and energy. Industrialization is resulting in depletion of natural resources like fossil fuel, minerals and contamination of water, air and land. All these causing immense damage to ecosystems and leading to health hazards. Other causes like the deforestation, mining activities, automobiles, industrial effluents, generation of waste, dumping of hazardous radioactive waste, construction of larger dams and reservoirs. The changing in lifestyle has been a remarkable change in the style of living of people. The changing lifestyle of people has increased serious damage to the environment in many ways. The use of modern gadgets like the refrigerators and air conditioners release harmful gases in the atmosphere. This has been causing global warming, which is dangerous. Let's look into the protection of environment. The Ministry of Environment and Forest (MOEF) in the government is responsible for protection, conservation and development of environment. The ministry works in collaboration with the other ministries, the state governments, pollution control boards and number of scientific and technical institutions, the universities, non-governmental organizations, etc. Environmental Protection Act 1986 is the key legislation governing environment management. Other legislations are the Forest Conservation Act 1980 and Wildlife Protection Act 1972. The state government institutions are relatively small, although overall quality of environmental impact assessment studies and the effective implementation of the EIA process have improved over the years. 1. Environmental degradation. Impact of human health is at the receiving end, and as a result of environmental degradation, areas exposed to toxic air pollutants can cause respiratory problems like pneumonia and asthma. Many people die due to indirect effects of air pollution. 2. Loss of biodiversity. Biodiversity is important for maintaining balance of the ecosystems in the form of combating pollution, restoring nutrients, protecting water sources and stabilizing climate. Deforestation, global warming, overpopulation and pollution are few of the major causes for the loss of biodiversity. 3. Ozone layer depletion. The ozone layer, which is responsible for protecting earth from harmful ultraviolet rays, the presence of chlorofluorocarbons, hydrochlorofluorocarbons in the atmosphere is causing the ozone layer deplete. In the process of depletion, it will emit harmful radiations back to earth. 4. Loss of tourism industry. The deterioration of environment can be a huge loss for tourism industry that relies on tourists for their daily livelihood. Environmental damage like loss of green cover, loss of biodiversity, increased air and water pollution can be a turn-off for most of the tourists. 5. Economic impact. In order to restore green cover, cleaning up of landfills and protection of endangered species, the countries have to bear big economic impact. Let's look into the global warming. Global warming is a problem of too much carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, which acts as a blanket, trapping heat and warming the planet. When we burn fossil fuels like coal, oil and natural gas for energy, or cut down and burn forests to create pastures and plantations, carbon accumulates and overloads our atmosphere. The agricultural practices and waste management aggravate the problem by releasing their potent global warming gases such as methane and nitrous oxide. The carbon dioxide survives in the atmosphere for a long time, for centuries, so its heat trapping effects are compounded over time. The heat trapping gases, carbon dioxide, puts us the risk of irreversible changes if it continues to accumulate unabated in the atmosphere. The scientific evidence indicates that an increase in the global average temperature of more than 3.6 degrees Fahrenheit above pre-industrial levels poses severe risk to natural systems and human resources. The global average temperature has increased by more than 1 Fahrenheit. From the 2001 to 2010 decade was the warmest since 1880. This warming has been accompanied by a decrease in very cold days and nights and an increase in extremely hot days and warm nights. A warming world has potential to change the rainfall and snow patterns, increase droughts and severe storms, reduce lake ice cover, melt glaciers, increase sea level and change plant and animal behavior. The global average temperature has increased by more than 1 Fahrenheit. Let's look into the meaning and the nature of sustainable development. In 1987, the World Commission on Environment defined sustainable development as the development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. Sustainable development promotes the idea that social, environmental and economic progress is all in the world as being connected through space, time and quality of life attainable within the limits of our Earth's natural resources. The concepts of needs, particularly the essential needs of the world's poor, to which overriding priority should be given, and the idea of limitation imposed by the state of technology and social organizations on the environment's ability to meet present and future needs. Thus, the goals of economic and social development are defined in terms of sustainability in all countries. Developed or developing market oriented or centrally planned must share general features and must flow from a consensus on the basic concept of sustainable development and on a broad strategic framework for achieving it. Development involves a progressive transformation of economy and society. A development path is sustainable in a physical sense, could theoretically be pursued in a rigid social and political setting. But physical sustainability cannot be secured unless development policies pay attention to such considerations as changes in access to resources and in the distribution of cost and benefits. The essential needs of vast number of people in developing countries for food, clothing, shelter, jobs are not met. Beyond their basic needs, these people have inequity or endemic which prone to ecological and other crises. Sustainable development requires meeting the basic needs of all and extending to all the opportunity to satisfy their aspirations for a better life. Living standards that go beyond the basic minimum are sustainable only if consumption standards everywhere have regard for long time sustainability. Yet many of us live beyond the world's ecological means. For instance, in our pattern of energy use, perceived needs are socially and culturally determined, and sustainable development requires the promotion of values that encourage the consumption standards that are within the bounds of ecological possible and to which all can reasonably aspire. Meeting essential needs depends in part on achieving full growth potential, and sustainable development clearly requires economic growth in places where such needs are not beyond met. Elsewhere, it can be consistent with economic growth provided the content of growth reflects the broad principles of sustainability and non-exploitation of others. High levels of productive activity and widespread poverty can coexist and can endanger the environment. Hence, sustainable development requires that societies meet human needs both by increasing productive potential and by ensuring equitable opportunities for all. A society, in order to meet the needs of its people, may compromise in the future by over-exploiting resources. The direction of technological developments may solve some problems, but lead to even greater ones. Large sections of the population may be marginalized by ill-considered development. The diversion of water sources, the extraction of minerals, the emission of heat and noxious gases into the atmosphere, commercial forest and genetic manipulation are the human intervention in natural systems during the course of development. Most of the technology research by commercial organizations is devoted to product and process innovations that have market value, but technologies are needed to produce social goods such as improved air quality or increased product life, or that resolve problems normally outside the cost calculus of individual enterprises, such as the eternal cost of pollution or waste disposal. Sustainable development is a process of change in which the exploitation of resources, the direction of investments, the orientation of technological development and institutional change are all in harmony and enhance both current and future potential to meet human needs and aspirations. Sustainable development recognizes that Growth must be both inclusive and environmentally sound to reduce poverty and build shared prosperity for today's population and to continue to meet the needs of future generations. The three pillars of sustainable development are the economic growth, environmental stewardship and social inclusion carry across all sectors of development, from cities facing rapid urbanization to agriculture, infrastructure, energy development and use of water availability and transportation. Cities are embracing low carbon growth and public transportation. Farmers are picking up the practices of climate smart agriculture. Now, let us look into the sustainable development practices. Some of the sustainable development practices are as follows. 1. Sustainable construction. Offices, houses and their structures that incorporates recycled and renewable resources will be more energy efficient and stand the test of time. 2. Crop rotation. Many farmers and gardeners are using this method as a chemical free way to reduce the diseases in the soil and increase growth potential of their crops. 3. Solar and wind energy. Energy from these resources is limitless. It means the ability to eliminate dependence on non-renewable power sources by harnessing power from renewable resources. 4. Water fixtures. Water conservation is critical to sustainable development and more products are available that use less water in the home, such as showers, toilets, dishwashers and laundry systems. The world's resources are finite and growth that is unmanaged and unsustained will lead to increased poverty and decline of the environment. The critical objectives for the environment and development policies that follow from the concept of sustainable development includes 1. Reviving growth, 2. Changing the quality of growth, 3. Meeting essential needs for jobs, food, energy, water and sanitation, 4. Ensure a sustainable level of population, 5. Conserving and enhancing the resource base, 6. Reorienting technology and the resource base, 7. Merging environment and economics in decision making. Sustainable development involves more than growth. It requires a change in the content of growth to make it less material and energy intensive and more equitable in its impact. These changes are required in all countries as part of a package of measures to maintain the stock of ecological capital, to improve the distribution of income and to reduce the degree of vulnerability to economic crisis. Economic development is unsustainable if it increases vulnerability to crisis. A drought may force farmers to slaughter animals needed for sustaining production in future years. A development path that combines growth with reduced vulnerability is more sustainable than one that does not. The sustainability of development is intimately linked to dynamics of population growth. The issue is simply one of global population size. Sustainable development can be pursued more easily when population size is stabilized at a level consistent with the productive capacity of the ecosystem. Sustainable development aims to promote harmony among human beings and between humanity and nature. To pursue sustainable development requires the following: 1. A political system that secures citizen participation in decision making. 2. An economic system that is able to generate surpluses and technical knowledge on a self-reliant and sustained basis. 3. A social system that provides for solutions for the tensions arising from disharmonious development. 4. A production system that respects the obligation to preserve the ecological base for development. 5. The technological system that can search continuously for new solutions. 6. An international system that fosters sustainable patterns of trade and finance. 7. an administrative system that is flexible and has the capacity for self-correction. There are few sustainable development goals and targets of new agenda which will be monitored and reviewed using a set of global indicators. Some of the goals are: 1. End of poverty in all its forms everywhere. 2. Achieve food security and improve nutrition and promote sustainable agriculture. 3. Ensure healthy lives and promote well-being for all at all age. 4. Ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all. 5. Ensure access to affordable, reliable, sustainable and modern energy for all. 6. Ensure availability and sustainable management of water and sanitation for all. 7. To combat climate change and its impact, conserve and sustainably use the oceans, seas and marine resources, etc. Let us look into the summary. Environmental degradation is disintegration or deterioration of the environment through the nature's consumption of assets like air, water and soil, and the destruction of environment and eradication of wildlife. Due to various causes, world countries are facing environmental degradation. The sustainable development is the development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. Sustainable development promotes the idea that social, environmental and economic progress is all attainable within the limits of the nature. Thank you.